Welcome to our second session of AP Statistics. So we had our first session about 10 days ago, and during that session, somebody had said they wanted inference statistics. So that's we'll look a little bit at that today. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, what I want to do is just recap a little bit about what we covered last time. But first, our team. So I am Mohammed, Dr. H. The moderator tonight is, or today is Tyle. He will be feeding me your questions as they come through. And Brian, who without whose help, none of this would be possible. So welcome. Of course, what I want to talk about is the 2020 AP testing and a little bit of the changes that has happened. Robert from Princeton Review actually did put out a video earlier, and that's a really good video to watch. What I will be talking about specifically will be the AP stats and where we can help. So this is also a recap from last time. You may know that the AP statistics will be on May 22nd. These are the times depending on your time zone. What you will notice is that the test is offered at the same time, no matter which time zone you're in. So if you're in Hawaii, it's at 8 in the morning. If you're in England, it's at 6 p.m. For a lot of us, it's in the afternoon. For a lot of us in the US. They have changed the testing format. Now you have two questions. One is 25 minutes, and then the second question is 15 minutes. So instead of 3+ hours, we are now down to 40 minutes of testing. And that's it. Now, you can't be working on both these questions. They will give you question one. They will give you 25 minutes. You answer that question. When you are done with that question, that is when they will give you the second question. So it's not like you can go back and forth between them or decide which one to do first. That's not an option. Now, what does that mean? That means no multiple choice. You are not allowed to collaborate with others. You are allowed to have your notes and your study sheets. You are allowed reference material. It is recommended that you show up 30 minutes early to get set up. And if you have any accommodations, testing accommodations, College Board will honor those accommodations. For stats, this is the regular syllabus is what they have, but given the unusual situation in 2020, the last 2 units will not be covered. So if you're concerned about chi-squared, it will not be covered. And if you're concerned about slopes, that will not be covered. But the other stuff will be covered. Okay, so units eligible was 1 through 7, which is the inference, and we'll see a problem from this today. And then what's not covered is units 8 and 9. Okay, so taking the test, the way College Board says you can take the test is you can use a computer, you can use a tablet, you can use a smartphone, you can type your responses, you can handwrite them, take a picture and submit it. That works as well. Find the method that works best for you. And the way you do that is you can try different prep techniques. So know the format and the instructions ahead of time, understand the content, plan where and how you will take the test, how you'll also submit the results. So make sure you run through a practice. And I would recommend you practice more than one method so you know which one works best for you. It may not be the most comfortable for you, but it's the one that works best under timed conditions. Prepare your support team. This is the loved ones and people around you. They will actually be able to run some interference for you. They will make sure that the pets are away. They will make sure the siblings don't bother you. Practice under test conditions and review your practice. And the reason why you're reviewing your practice is not to feel bad, but to adjust your strategy and review your content. And of course, plan to celebrate after the test. That's pretty important. It's this way, no matter how the test goes, you have something to look forward to. So here is our question for today. Suppose Dr. H takes a 5-day vacation and goes to a place where the probability of rain on any given day is half, and assume that a day is classified as either a day of sunshine or a day of rain. What is the probability that Dr. H gets exactly 2 days of rain during his vacation? Now, we've worked with flipping coins, and this is not that much different from flipping coins. So it's either a day of rain or a day of sunshine. It comes down to a coin flip. And if we are looking at 5 days, what do we have? Well, if we are looking at the probability of the first 2 days of rain and then the next 3 days of sunshine, the probability is 1/2 to the 5th power. 1/2 rain, 1/2 rain, 1/2 sunshine, 1/2 sunshine, and 1/2 sunshine. But that's not the only possibility that we have there. We could have this possibility: rain, sunshine, rain, sunshine, sunshine. So really the question is, how many such possibilities can we get? And then once we know how many possibilities we have, we just take that number, multiply it by 1/2 to the 5th power, and we got our answer. Okay, so how many of these are there? And we can think about this as there are 5 slots. We need to know how many, we need to know how many ways we can put 2 rainy days in 5 slots. Well, this is now a combinations problem. So I know combinations 5, 2, and the reason why it's combinations is because rainy day 1, rainy day 2 doesn't matter. They're indistinguishable. So whether I have rainy day 2 before rainy day 1, it doesn't matter. But this is the formula for combinations. So I know that there are 10 ways where I can get 2 rainy days given a 5-day period. So now it becomes pretty easy, right? So basically you look at your combination 5, 2 times 1/2 to the 5th power, which gives you 5/16 or 31 1/3%. Okay, so fairly simple problem. I would imagine, right? Fairly simple for the kind of work that you will be doing. And Tile, you can give me a yes or a no, so I know the reaction from chat. Okay. Now we're going to go to a slightly different problem. So here's a problem. This is more like the problem that will that you are likely to see. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to read the problem, and we can use some of the things that you already know. So here we are. Suppose this time Dr. H takes a 15-day vacation, the bumped up vacation time. That's what you get for staying in a job long enough. Okay, now the probability of rain is 1/4 on any given day. Okay, assume that the day is again classified as either a day of rain or a day of sunshine. Find the following. Now notice they told us a day of rain, right? And what they're asking us is the mean day of sunshine. Now it's really, really easy to then look at your formula. There's your formula. Probability of sunshine. That's not what I wanted. The probability of sunshine is actually 1 minus the probability of rain. If I have to put it in the formula. So it's 1 minus 1/4, which is 3/4. There we go. Can you hear me, Brian? Can you hear me, Tyler? And if you can, just put in a yes, because I think I froze for just a moment. Okay. Oh, good. I think you can hear me. Good, 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 good. So there is a trap here, and that's a really nasty trap if you don't catch it. And you may not. Under exam conditions, you may not catch this trap. Is that they're asking you for sunshine while the probability they give you is one of rain. So watch out for something like this. It's a small step. You know the step. I know you do if you're going to prep for this test. It's just that sometimes when doing the test, we completely miss it. Okay, so remember that in the heat of the exam, very easy things are difficult to do, and this is one of them. Okay, so now what we do after this is we know that the expected value, this is an expected value problem, is the number of days times the probability. So 15 times 3/4. Notice that because it's not half anymore, this needs to be 3/4 of probability of sunshine. So it's 11 1/4 days. Well, and what's the standard deviation? This is again another lookup formula that you have, where the standard deviation is the number of days, probability, 1 minus the probability. So this one is not going to matter, but you end up with a standard deviation of 1.6. So here's a question very similar to the one we had before. Probability of exactly 10 days of sunshine. The probability of exactly 10 days of sunshine, really, now we know how to do it. Combination 1510, 3/4 the days of sunshine to the 10th power, and 1/4 to the 5th power. Now, why did I do it this way? Because if you look at this as the days of sunshine, if I have, let's say I'm looking at 3 days of sunshine. So if I'm looking at sunshine, 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 rain, rain, that is 3/4. Of course, there are 3 of them, so that is to the 3rd power times the probability of rain, which is 1/4, and that would be to the 2nd power. So that is why we need to have 3/4 to the 10th power, because that's how many days of sunshine we have, and 1/4 to the 5th power. When you do that, you get 16.5%, as you work the numbers through. And then part D is at least 3 days of sunshine. Now, the way you figure out at least 13 days of sunshine is you have to do 13 days of sunshine plus 14 days of sunshine, which is this, plus 15 days of sunshine. Okay, so now you can run through the same thing to get finally 23.6%. You'd expect it to be a little bit bigger than this number, and it would be somewhere in here. So this is more like the question you're likely to see, where they will, and as you can see, they kind of build on each other, and you can use the later problems if you want to figure out what they're asking for in some of the earlier ones. Now, last time somebody did ask for inference, so here is a similar question, which does ask for inference. So now, instead of going on vacation, I actually have to go to work. Oh, heaven forbid I have to go to work. So here I took a temporary assignment close to where I like to vacation, where Dr. H likes to vacation. He was there for 120 days, and it rained for 40 days. Many decades later, he got another temporary assignment at the same location. This time, there were 320 days, and it rained for 40 days as well. Okay. The question is, has a location been affected by climate change or some other variation? And it says justify your answer using a confidence level of 5%. And as you know, 5% is the standard confidence interval that we use for most things. Not always. So if you're designing nuclear reactors, or if you're designing things that go like pacemakers that go in your heart, in people's hearts and things like that, or things that remove blood clots in the brain, then it is no longer 5%. It is depending on what's happening. So for some of the things that went in the heart, it was 3.4 dppm. So 3.4 defective parts per million is what that was, whatever that went in your heart. And it's a good thing they are really, really low. You can't get it down to 0. We know that, but we do use statistics in production, and that is really the level that most good production would be working at. Okay, so we start with our null hypothesis, is that the two means are the same. And if the two means are the same, then the difference in the means would be 0. So that's what we're going to use. So we're going to use first a pooled estimate for rain. And I actually put in the numbers as per the formula that is in your book. And if you look at it, really it is the number of days, the total days of rain over the total number of days they were. So days of rain over total number of days spent there, which gives you essentially 18.2% roughly. I wrote it out like this so you can see them cancel out. This is really it's really a frequency number, a frequency calculation, number of days times frequency, things like that. But this is what you're doing. The pooled estimate of rain is really total number of rain days over total number of days in its simplest form. The formula looks complicated, but that's what it's going into. Okay, next is the z-score. So the z-score, if you remember, is x minus mu over sigma. Z-score is x minus mu over sigma. Okay, and that's basically what we're doing here. So this is the difference in the means. Okay, so that's essentially my x. The mu is 0 because we're assuming that the two means are the same. Okay, and we're looking at the difference in the means. And this is the calculation for standard deviation using the pooled estimate of rain. Okay, and again, these equations are actually in the AP stats book. You can look them up. They should be in any good prep book where they will give you this question or this example. They are also, if you are looking at the solutions for the AP free response questions, you will find them there as well. So you will see that. So we take the difference in mean over the standard deviation, and we get a z-score of 5.05. What this means is that from 0, we are 5 standard deviations away. Now, if we are 5 standard deviations away, are we more than 5% away or less than 5% away? So basically, what you're looking at is you're looking at a mean distribution like this. Okay. This is where we are at 5.05. And the question is this area here greater than 5% or less than 5%? If this area is greater than 5%, then I can say I have to accept the null hypothesis, and that is the means are the same to within a 95% confidence interval. If this is less than 5%, then I can say, well, okay, the means are not the same within, or they are different to within a 95% confidence interval. So was there any feedback from our audience on where that should be? Oh, good. There is some typing. Excellent. Yeah, it could be, but I think sometimes what they want you to do is they want you to show the work. So if they want you to show the work, at least you can do it here showing the work. Given that these are, typically you are using the calculator when you have lots of numbers. That's when you are using, so when they give you a table of numbers. But when they only give you numbers like this, uh, you know, yes, if your calculator can do that, but not all calculators can do this. And if you look at this, it's not too bad. You are expected to be able to do calculations like this. Now, granted, some of the some of the okay, so the numbers that I have are harder numbers. They will cook up the numbers to make them easier. I would not use a t-test here because this is binomial distribution. A t-test is used typically when I have a continuous distribution. So this was one of the things, know which test to use. it comes down to content, understanding the content, and knowing which test to use where. Okay, so because this is a binomial, the distribution here, the test, the inference test here will be a z-test rather than a t-test. Okay, so that's why I would not use one. Okay, so the thing you need to know is that basically P is much, much less than 0.5%. This should be like 1.64 to be 5%. We are much further away from that. 1.64 difference from the mean, and therefore you can say the means are different. So as a statistician, you can say that the means are different. Well, has it got to do with climate change? There, as a statistician, you may not be able to say. You can say, well, probably affected by climate change. Okay, so so that's what you could say as a statistician. Now, what we went through here is, of course, content, and part of this content was feedback from session 1, where somebody said this is what they'd like to do. They also said they'd like to look at Venn diagrams. So if I need to load up my slide deck of Venn diagrams, I can. You can look at content and you can find it and work with it. And yes, that is the first thing you need to do for technical tests like this. At the end of the day, if you want to effectively take practice tests, you want to be able to take the practice test as they give it to you, within the realm that they give it to you. And even if you know the content, sometimes when you take the practice test under test conditions, and you grade your practice test, what happens is some people actually may cry a little bit when they look at their grade. And they may say, why am I getting a low grade, or not the grade that I'm expecting, although I know my content inside out? What you do then is, okay, you want to cry a little bit, that's fine. Let everything out of your system, get the emotions out. Now you are ready to look at the test. Most people, when they go back to look at the test, they look at what they got wrong. And that's the only thing they look at. So when I tell people, like on multiple choice tests, we don't have that here, but I tell them, hey, for multiple choice tests, just guess. There'll be some people who tell me, hey, Dr. H, every time I guess wrong. If you only look at the questions you get wrong, then you will only see the ones you guessed wrong on. To see how good you are, you actually need to review every question. And you need to classify each question. So this is how you actually improve your score. And the way you classify each question, so yes, you can say, hey, at the end of the test, this is what I got. Realize you're not interested on where you are. That's what AP and those guys are interested in doing. What is your body of knowledge today? What you're interested in is, what is your body of knowledge? How can you do well on the AP stats? Not today, but on test day. Okay, that's what you're prepping for. So all the prep prior to that you are doing is what I talked about earlier. Great games are not won on game day. Great games are won on the practice field. That's why you practice. And that's why you practice now, so that you can see exactly what you can do on game day, on AP test day. And that is exactly what you do. So it becomes just another test, just like the practice, and your execution will be flawless. So what you want to do is you want to grade your questions. And this is a qualitative grading, okay? So it's a nailed it or mostly right. And when I say mostly right, I mean, if you know about, let's say, 80% of the content is known, then it is mostly right, because you know most of the stuff anyway. So either you nailed it, or you know 80% of the content, and you know how to do most of it. There was a silly error, you forgot a conversion, okay, fine. The other one is that it took too long. Mostly understand the concept, so mostly you'll be like within the, let's say, the 60 to 80% range here, but it took too long because now you are in the process of putting the content together. And yes, if the question is, hey, does this apply to multiple choice? This was developed specifically for the short answer AP. So that's what this rubric is used for. Whether you're doing this in statistics, or let's say you are doing this for any of the other science, math-based areas, the same rubric will work. Okay. Duh errors. Okay, is the next classification. So I am sure that those people on the live feed, none of them make duh errors. Is that true, Brian? And of course, after that, we look at some of the other questions as well. Okay, so missing some concepts. So now, okay, so this does mean that you need to work on content and understand the vocabulary, but don't know how it all goes together, or maybe have difficulty understanding the vocabulary, but don't know how it all goes together. It's all under this classification. Okay, what you need to do is, as you classify the questions like this, and this is I think a better classification than what someone's saying, check, yes, you got this right, no, you didn't. This is actually trying to understand why you got it right or why you didn't get it right. And as you do more and more of these tests, because this classification is now going to give you the basics, the raw material of a roadmap on where and how to study. Okay, so that's what you want, because it's telling you this is the next, and this is not on test day. This is for your very next practice. This is what you want to do immediately. So as long as, and then don't understand the concept, as long as you do successive practice tests, you are getting more of these and you're getting fewer of these, you are improving. You're improving no matter what the no matter what the score, the actual bottom line score is. Okay, remember that these percentages are a leading indicator of where your score is going. That's where your score will go. And as you see that there's a lot that needs to happen before you can get a question right. This is where you get a question right, and maybe sometimes. Before you can get up here, there are all these steps you need to go through, and you may not be getting things right here. So as you can see that there's a lot that you need to do before you get things right. That's why the arrow is this way, and that's why you need to keep track of your progress. There are some of my students who get discouraged. They say, I've been working so hard, but my score has plateaued. Well, so for one thing, you're not looking at how you have improved. That's why your score may have plateaued, and you may not be studying where you need to be studying. And let's talk about that next. At the end of the day, what you are doing is you're focused on your AP score. Now, what actually contributes to your AP score? Okay, what contributes to your AP score is, of course, content. Content is where you start. Without content, you can't even think about taking a test like the AP test. But realize, while this is the starting point, it is not the ending point. This is not where you end up. This is just where you start. Okay. The other thing that actually helps you is technique. And the rubric that we have, this rubric here that I have reproduced, helps you determine where to actually study, either here or here. Okay. So let's assume you have took too long, mostly understand the concepts. Where would you be studying? So here's where I need actually a little bit of feedback from you to tell me where you'll be studying. And as you can tell, what happens is studying in the wrong area actually doesn't do much for you. Remember, studying content is good, but studying content after you have a certain level of proficiency actually is has diminishing returns. So you may know the content really well, but you are still not getting the grade that you want, and then people just say, "Ah, I'm just a bad test taker." Well, maybe there's a little bit of technique that needs to happen. So, Tile, any responses came through for took too long as to where to go? Okay, either content or technique. Okay, I would imagine most people here would say that you want to look at technique. Okay, because you know the content, it looks like you know the material. You just need to find quick ways of doing it. You know, how do you make your setup well? How do you cross out things? What are some of the shortcuts you can take if there are any? Yeah, good job. Good job. Yep. Use the techniques. Awesome. And what about understand the vocabulary but don't know how it all goes together? Where should the focus be as you are looking at this piece? Now, realize you understand the vocabulary, so you know some of the content, but if you don't know how it goes together, you don't have enough to actually solve the problem. Okay, so things like that would go where? Okay, I would imagine these would go in content. Okay, and for those of you who got that, who got both of those, uh, you know, I like to give you clip arts, right? So here are some clip art. Here is a clip art for those of you who got it. I know I'm being cheesy. Okay, fine, I can be cheesy. It may be like second grade since anyone gave you a clip art, but okay, I like to give clip arts. Here is one anyway. The interesting question is, what happens with a duh question? Okay, so remember the duh error is the error you didn't want to make. So where should you focus on when you have a duh error? Now, remember, if you say content, it's, well, you made the duh error, but you know the content. So learning more content is not going to help that duh error. Okay. Some may say technique. Well, you know how to do the problem. If you know how to do the problem, this is not the duh error is not telling you to look at technique then at that point in time, right? You know how to do this stuff. Um, so the next question is, do you make duh errors on purpose? So let's say those of you who are going to be surgeons as you grow up and I age, so I will actually need your services as I'm under your care in the operating room. You go, Dr. H, time for my duh error. Sorry, Dr. H, I left a needle in you as I sewed you up. I will not be too happy. I will not be a happy camper, right? I mean, I may actually my vocabulary may explode with words I didn't even know I knew. None of them great words, unfortunately. You know, none that I'd want to say in front of my kids or my grandkids at that time, depending on how aged I am. Uh, so yeah, I mean, we don't make the errors on purpose. We make them because something made us make them. So let me give you a for instance. Okay, supposing you're taking a practice test. You're taking a practice test at home, and what happens while you're taking the practice test is somebody across the street from you, where you are taking the practice test, does something stupid. So stupid that EMS personnel are called. Okay, so here's our friendly EMS truck right here. They get called. And you know how EMS people are. They want everyone within a 50-mile radius to know where they are. They block lanes. They have this two-tone siren, really annoying. Let's say on that particular day, EMS personnel are done in 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, what's your performance going to be? Better than normal, worse than normal, or the same as normal? Okay, so the question really is, somebody does something stupid, EMS personnel are called. During the time the EMS personnel are there, during the time the blaring siren is there, okay, what is your performance on the test going to be like? And Tyler, you can feed me the response. Better than normal, worse than normal, or the same as normal? And the follow-up question is why? Okay. Okay. So I would imagine most of the answers are worse than normal. And I'm going to ask you, why is it worse than normal? And the most common answer there is that you are probably distracted. Okay, so realize what happened here. What happened here is that I'm looking at content and technique, and I give you a situation where the reason why your performance drops has nothing to do with the content and technique that you have worked so hard all school year to develop. It's got everything to do with the test environment. Okay, there we go. There is a test environment. Okay, now granted, you cannot control the test environment, but you can do things to mitigate it. This is where practice comes in handy, because if you have practiced it and you have seen that kind of environment happen, that is great. People who practice the test say, oh, this thing happened, the fire alarm went off, my internet dropped me. Okay, so something happened here. And when you go through that, if you've gone through it in a practice environment, now at least you are somewhat prepared as to how to go through it. And it doesn't, you don't need EMS people to actually go ahead and decrease your performance and cause you to make the errors. It could be other things. It could be too hot or it could be too cold. Uh, it, I had an entire class take a practice test on a September day when it was an unusually cold September day. The heat was not turned on, so everyone was freezing. All the people who are taking this practice test, there were about 30 of them, and all of their scores dropped. There was one girl, her score did not drop. And I was not the proctor, so I did not know this was happening. I went to ask her. I said, how did the test go? She goes, oh, Dr. H, it was so cold. It was so cold that I went to my car and I got my microfiber blanket and I wrapped it all around me. And she goes, all my friends laughed, but I didn't care. Hers was the only test score that didn't drop. So when you're going for the test, take a microfiber blanket with you, the moral is, at least dress in layers. So you can, at a minimum, put on a layer or take off a layer. So you can be comfortable during the test, or as comfortable as possible. The test environment has quite a bit to do here. Um, and you can think about it. It may not happen, but you can think about it. What are you going to do if you live in an apartment and let's say on test day the fire alarm goes off? You can't sit there, finish your test. You have to evacuate the building. What's happened to your test? AP doesn't know. So now you have to fill out some paperwork and get some proof and things like that trying to say, okay, they let me in the building, let me just finish my test because it was a short time or what have you, at that point in time, you are so frazzled that your performance will not be where it needs to be. Okay, so watch out for things like that. Think about what you got to do about them. And hopefully they will not happen. But if they do, you at least are somewhat aware or somewhat certain that you have some plan. It may not be a completely fleshed out plan, but some plan on how you are going to approach whatever that situation is. Okay. Uh, the next thing that you want to be aware of is test preparedness. Test preparedness is really, what are you going to do? How well prepared are you for the test? Typically, I ask, uh, do you, uh, so, so test preparedness is, do you have a plan? Do you know what you're going to do? Do you have your formula set out? Uh, do you have them tabbed in such a way where you can very quickly go to where you need to? Do you know what keywords to look for? And therefore, once you see that particular keyword on the question, you know exactly which page in your notes to go to, because that's where all the formulas are. Do you understand, for once you hit a keyword, that this is a common trap? Remember, we saw that. We saw that where they gave us a probability of rain, and the question was all about the probability of sunshine. Little things like that, but they will get you. So how do you not get stung by those? And this is where the practice really helps. Okay, because you notice this, and as you think about how you can do better, your test preparedness plan comes together. Okay. I also have body conditioning here. The reason why I have body conditioning is because you are going to do a test in 40 minutes. Those 40 minutes are critical. They will actually tell you what you get, 1 through 5. You need to make sure that every ounce of energy you have, every shred of focus that you have, is finely tuned to actually getting the most points during that time. The rest of the world can do what the rest of the world does, but those 40 minutes are you and your AP, and that's all that exists. This is where your support comes in. This is where you know that you don't want to go to the bathroom in those 40 minutes. So make sure you have done what you need to do so you don't have to do that. If you need to have your bottle of water next to you when you're taking the test, you know that. So you can reach for your bottle of water and and drink it if needed. I would recommend that it should not be water. I would recommend that it should be orange juice or something like that. Your body needs electrolytes. So make sure that you have, okay, so you don't have to go out and get Gatorade, but you want to make sure that whatever you are having actually has something in there that will help you function. Ions in there, which are found in fruit juices and and things like that. So while we spend all of our time here in our prep work, do not neglect that there is this as well, which actually impacts your test performance. And sometimes it is this stuff that actually has a bigger impact on your score than we actually give it credit for. You may not even know what it is. When I ask people, why did your performance drop? Because this is not your standard performance, they can't think about what happened. So we have to go through, and I have to ask them, okay, tell me about your day. What did you do after breakfast? What did you have for breakfast? Okay, what happened during your drive to the test center? Of course, you don't have a drive to the test center, but in this case, in other cases, there have been drives to the test center. And sometimes I will hear things like, well, when driving to the test center, we missed an exit. Okay, how are you going to feel if you get to the test center, uh, and you've missed an exit? You may get there on time, but your heart rate will be really pounding. So anything like that, will actually influence you. Remember, on test day, what you want to do is you want to be an AP test-taking machine. This is one of those where you are going to go in, you have a plan, you will execute to that program, and you will do well. Okay, or you will do like your practice has it. So here is our AP test-taking machine right here. Okay, that you will be like on test day. Okay, cool. At this point, questions, concerns, comments from chat room. So first of all, was this useful? And the reason I ask is, yes, we can go through content. We can go through AP content. So first of all, the 3 hours that I have are not enough to cover all of AP content. That's not the intent. We could cover pieces of the content. Yes, we can do that. But you can also find the content in a lot of different areas. What I wanted to do is to talk about test-taking strategy. That's what we do at Princeton Review. What I think and that's hard to find outside companies like Princeton Review, because this is what we do. We look at the tests, we try and figure out how you can best approach the test. We also try and figure out how you can prepare yourself to best take the test. I think this is one thing that you can use during your prep to get your scores as high as possible. Tile, comments, questions, concerns from chat? Okay. I see it's a little bit quiet. Okay. I do, if we have time, I do have a Venn diagram slide deck that I can go through. I'm not sure if we will have time at this point in time, but if we do, I can do that. I do have one more thing to cover. Okay, okay. Let me know if chat thought that this was useful or not, that, going through the test like this was actually useful or not. Okay, so where can we help? How can we help? There are quite a few things that we have that can help you with standardized testing. Okay? We have tutors and instructors that's what they want to do. They want to help students with their AP. Resources are available, and of course, one of those is our AP live streams. We have those every day from 1 to 2. We also have some more live streams which are not during the 1 to 2 hour, that are outside those hours, that can help you attend those. So here we went through AP session 2, where what I wanted to cover was how to use your practice to help you. What I would like to do on the next AP session 3 is to then go through and diagnose, basically approaching a question as a technique goes. So you can let me know if that is what you want to do. Yes, I know you can cover the content on your own. I can cover it too if you like, and that's easy to do because I've been teaching AP Stats for a long time. We can cover content, but I think this is more useful to help you with your test, because it is harder to find, and I think it has a really big impact on the test. What else do we have apart from the live stream? We have scheduled tutoring, where you will work one-on-one with a tutor for your AP test. And it could be, I think we say we cover all of the major ones and most of the other AP areas. I looked at the AP selection and I tried to think about Did we actually have a tutorial session in any of these? I could not think of one where we didn't have at one point in time a tutor teaching that particular AP. So I think we cover all of them. There might be some language ones that we may not cover, or we may have a harder time finding somebody. But I know we can find tutors in all of them. Certainly the stats, the comp sci, typically all the sciences, typically all the soc. We can pretty much find somebody who knows the AP really well. There is AP on-demand tutoring. This tutoring is actually 24/7. Uh, there are tutors standing by who are ready to help you. Basically you call up, you say this is the course you're interested in, this is the AP, and you will be hooked up to a tutor that will help you right then and there. And we have AP cram courses. What these cram courses are 2-3 hour sessions of your particular area of AP, where we pretty much distill all the content and try and give you techniques on approaching that particular AP test. So these are, of course, the most popular AP tests where we have cram courses. They will be starting in early May, I believe. And basically it is 2-3 hour sessions. That is what we have. In addition to all of this, we have our wonderful cracking books. We call them the cracking books, and these are the cracking and it's U.S. history, modern history, calc, stats. I had to put the stats one in there. This is, after all, a stats session, so I had to put that one there. But that is there. If you are going to study for a standardized test, what you have to realize is that in a standardized test, they are looking at, this is the way we test something. Okay, that's not going to change. So unlike sports, where the opponent may change their strategies or something like this, within a standardized test, it's slow to change. So you know what you're up against. And if you know what you're up against, yeah, prepare for it, because it is not just your knowledge that is being tested. It is the technique that you use. It is all the other things around you that you use. Building confidence is one of the key things that helps you. Yeah, I am helping a young lady in a tutorial situation for her AP. We've been working very hard for 10 days, and basically she did a practice test over the weekend. I looked at it during the week. She emailed it to me during the week. I looked at it, and then I was actually talking to her dad, and it was really great to hear. The dad said, you know uh, she was very weak in this particular area, but now her confidence has gone up. She actually has an attitude about it, a good attitude about it. She thinks she can do it. It's like, this is awesome. This is really great, because she's learned some content, she's learned a lot of techniques, and to the point where now she thinks she has uh, at least a viable shield going into the test. The next couple of weeks we'll be working on developing a sword, so she can actually pierce the exam, not just survive. But that is what preparation does for you. uh, you can't walk into the AP and expect to do well without preparation, or for that matter, most standardized tests. Okay, so at a minimum, spend $20 or less for a prep book and do it. Use the AP website that there is out there. They have freestanding questions for you that you can look at. Use those. They give you the freestanding questions, they give you the solutions, they tell you how they grade them. So now when we go back to when we are looking at our rubric here, when we are looking at this, you know what the grade is, so you can grade it. And after you grade it, you can say, okay, based on this test, I can improve here, 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 and here. And then you can go ahead and improve for the next test. Okay, don't give yourself too much. 2-3 things to improve for the next practice. This is really, realize it's not test day, it's just the next practice. Okay, and then see what you would, how you do on your next practice test. As you are preparing for the test, as you review your work, understanding a concept is a piece of it. Understanding the techniques is a piece of it. When you are trying to understand the technique, the question you need to ask is really, what can you take with you to the test? Just understanding a concept, which may not even be tested, may not help you. What is the general technique that you can take? What is the lesson that you can take with you and apply it on the day you have your AP test on, in this case, May 22nd? Okay. So for the next session, we good with looking at basically ripping apart a question, how to approach a question with in a general sense, so that it's not just how do I approach this question, but how do I approach all the short answer questions. So that's what I'd like to cover. As far as the content goes, I will have some content on Venn diagrams. If there's something else you would like, now is a good time to let me know in chat what you would like, because really I take your feedback from the chat and I try and see what I can incorporate in these types of sessions, and what I think will be most useful for you as the test taker for these types of sessions. So Tile, if there are comments and suggestions, I will certainly take them. If there are none, I know I have I don't have that much time. I have like 2 minutes left. So so I will, otherwise I will end right here.